Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday with 3W. Wellness Wednesday is sponsored by 3W Medical for Women, a nonprofit medical clinic offering free of charge or low-cost reproductive health services to women in the Seattle area, regardless of income or insurance status. 3W does not profit off the reproductive health choices women make. The information shared in this podcast is the opinion of the speaker or speakers. Medical information is not intended as individual medical consultation, but for general education only. Always consult your own health professional for personalized advice regarding medical decisions. And if you're in the Seattle area, consider making an appointment to consult with us. I'm Tami Wooding, Office Manager of 3W Medical for Women and the host of today's podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another podcast, Wellness Wednesday with 3W. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I am graced with a beautiful guest here, and we're keeping it in the family again. It is Tami Wooding. She is my mom. A few podcasts back, we had her mom on, and she had an amazing story. And this is the next generation. Tami's here to join us and talk about her life story, as well as honoring women and empowering women, and how she's kind of come to that in her life. So thank you so much for joining us, Mom.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Yes, and we're so excited to have her here and further dive into great topics that 3W is bringing to you. So without further ado, first things first, I want to ask is kind of your life in sense of your career to then motherhood and how you kind of came about the career you're in now versus what you were planning on doing and how you kind of had a change of heart with your having children and what your life was going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. So I started off as a daughter of a single mother. Mm-hmm. My father passed away when I was young. And so I was very empowered by grandma to just be a success. I mean, she certainly encouraged me to not become a mother at a very young age.
Right.
She wanted to, that is generational sometimes where it just gets repeated and repeated.
Totally.
And she definitely wanted, she encouraged me to be a career person and to work hard. I mean, I definitely got my work ethic from her.
And I think I remember you telling me like, you need to be able to make your own money because you never know what happens.
Oh, she very empowered me to just just stand on my own 2 feet, not be with someone because you want to be with them and not because you have to be with them.
Right.
So she was just such an encouragement that way to choose people that supported my goals and not supported me financially.
Right.
And so, so anyways, that was just a very big influence all through my life that she not over the head with it. It just was always about striving to be the best that I could be.
Yeah.
And so with that, I wasn't necessarily academically inclined to go to college. I was a really hard worker. So any job that I had, I am telling you, I got a job when I was 14 at the DQ.
Dairy Queen.
The Dairy Queen. And they wanted me to be the assistant manager. So any job that I had, I was like,
the night manager.
I'm going to be the best that I can be. So that turned into working at Nordstrom. I thought, I want to be a buyer at Nordstrom. I want to manage Nordstrom. I want to manage a department there. So I got a job when I was 19, right out of high school. And within about 8 weeks, I was on the fast track to be an assistant manager. They were training me up for that.
Right.
And so I got my first assistant managing. I lived in the Federal Way area and I traveled all the way up to Alderwood to be an assistant manager. And I ultimately ended up being the manager of BP for the downtown Seattle store and also the South Center store. Those were my 2 stores that I managed. And I think I had a $3.1 million budget at that time.
Wow.
As far as that revenue that I was generating for the company. Worked there till when I was 19, and then I worked there until I was about 24. And it really just prior to, let me say, when I was 19, I was single.
Yeah.
I wasn't encumbered by a relationship. So I was just work.
Right.
And then I met your father. And the minute I met him on our very first date, I said, hi, thanks for this. This is going to be a fun date, but I just want you to know, you're 26. If you're thinking about having children, I'm not having children. Like
At all.
I'm not having children. I'm a working girl over here. I'm going to have this path is what I'm doing.
Right.
And he was like, sure. And he just did not believe me.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating because I'm like, no, I'm going to show you I am not having children. And so anyways, we fell in love, we got engaged, and we got married in April of 94. And then fast forward to September of 94, I went into a doctor's office to get on birth control because Dad is a commercial fisherman, so he was leaving for the entire summer. So I wasn't quickly getting birth control. Right. And I wasn't really a good birth control person. I would be like the person that I'd forget the pill and then I'd take 3 and then I'd get sick. It wasn't good for me, but I knew I had to do something. Yeah. So I went in with my big venti coffee, this big. I mean, it was huge. And I had a 1:00 shift. I had to be at work at 1. Yeah. 1 to 10. And never met this doctor before, picked her out of just randomly picked this person. Yeah. And she said, the nurse that checked me in said, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to get on birth control. She goes, okay, well, you have to take a pregnancy test. You can't get on birth control with, if you're pregnant. And I was like, okay, let's do this. The lady was not coming back very quickly. And I was like, this is, I got a schedule here. Let's get going on this. And then all of a sudden the doctor burst into the door. And she said, hi, I'm Dr. Maceo. We've never met. You're pregnant. How do you feel about that? And I mean, I stood up, I sat down, I stood up, I sat down. I was just in complete shock. Yeah. Which leads me to, why was I in complete shock? Should I know how these things work? At
now
24 years old?
Right.
It's a little embarrassing. I mean, I know we're going to talk about that. I'll kind of pause for that part. So needless to say, I was shocked, but in a happy, committed marriage. Yeah. And I dumped the coffee out, went directly to a bookstore and got What to Expect When You're Expecting and dived into being pregnant and motherhood and all that meant. I was very excited about it. And anything that I do, I want to be the best at it. So I'm like, okay, where are we at right now? What do I need to be doing? Right. So it was certainly a change for me. And I mean, this is how non-baby they were at. They bought a sports car. Yeah. Like we 2 weeks before. Yeah, we bought a sports car 2 weeks before. And I told the salesperson, this is our only time. I mean, we probably will have children. At that point, I had fallen in love and I had decided that I did want children at some point. Right. So it does take the right person, I think, in my case, that changed my mind that I could do it all. Now, what I couldn't do is I didn't want to do retail. Right. Because retail, you're working when people are off. And I knew that wasn't quite conducive to a family life. Yeah. So I did have to make some adjustments there. Mm-hmm. I worked at Nordstrom while you guys were a little bit younger. Yeah. And then because Dad was home, so he was able to, I always had somebody, my rule was somebody has to love you to babysit you. Right. That was my thing. And obviously when your dad's home, he was the one. And we don't call it babysitting. Yeah. It's called parenting. Yeah. Okay. So that is a big, you're not babysitting your child. So anyways, I started to decide at that point when you guys were little, I need to make some changes. I need to have a job that I knew I wanted a career. I knew I wanted to always have a career while raising children, but certainly you guys were my focus. So I decided to get into real estate because my thought was when I'm on an appointment, whatever that looks like for me, I can tell people, well, I'm on an appointment. I can't do it at this time. I can do it at that time. So it gave me more structure and flexibility where when you're working at a retail store, you are there chained to the store for 8 hours, 10 hours. So this allowed me such freedom and flexibility to be home at night with you. That was very, very important to me to have structured dinners every night. It was important for me to work in both of your classrooms. And again, I was just able to say, oh gosh, I'm not available at that time. They don't need to know what I'm doing. Yeah. They just knew that I was at an appointment, and it was a very important appointment. And so this real estate really offered me a great way to balance both. And I know that's a luxury.
Right. But that's interesting because now you're so fulfilled and have had so much career success. And really the children is what kind of pushed you into that role, because you could have stayed at Nordstrom and probably been really successful, but like, that's probably not what maybe you were supposed to be doing. And you wanted the flexibility and you achieved that with real estate. And that was only because you were open to having these children and like wanting to be the mom that you were, and, you are. So,
and Zachary was a surprise. You were fully planned out. I finally kind of got into the program of like, how does this all work? Tracking.
Well, it's just interesting, the knowledge gap that women face, because while, there's sex ed in schools, it's ramping up more as we get kind of into from maybe when you were growing up to even when I'm growing up.
Well, I hope so.
Well, yes. However, really what I have noticed is while they talk about sex ed, they talk about STDs, they talk about, getting your period. They don't talk about like the nitty gritty of what happens and why you get a period every month. Okay. I don't know if you guys, the listeners, remember, I'm the FEM teacher here. We did a podcast a little bit back that stands for Fertility Education and Medical Management. And we do cycle tracking and knowing when we're ovulating and how that contributes to our overall health. Because while yes, it's a big indicator on when we may be able to conceive or not conceive, it also is an indicator of that we're in health of our body, because if we're ovulating, that means our hormones are at a good level. And if we're not ovulating, that's also a concern, and our body's trying to communicate that to us. And so I just find it funny that the
lack of knowledge
and how you just popped in thinking, well, I must even, you had sex and it's like, I could not be pregnant.
I know. It's really embarrassing, frankly, that I was 24 years old and I did not have a good grasp of, I understand the actual anatomy of it all and that this happens, except I did not understand the tracking part. I did not understand. And I've told you
when
this
you
before.
Can get pregnant, when you can't get pregnant.
I've told you this before, but I used to go in, everybody understands this. When you go to the doctor, they'll say, when was your last period? I would literally put down the 19th. I just thought, well, that's probably the day that it's like every month, it's probably the same day. I didn't realize that it was changed.
It's a cycle. Yeah. It's like,
and that it's 20, it changes every month. It's a different date every month. Nope. This dumbbell did not realize this.
So yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about what 3W offers with this, because while we are there for you and your health overall, when there's problems, we also can just teach you and educate you on how that's happening. And so, and especially with birth control, if you miss a pill, like you were saying, your body can spike and ovulation can happen and you don't know. Yeah. If you miss a day of tracking with FEM, you just jump back into it and you are kind of back on track because you kind of are knowing where your hormones are based on the days before, rather than with this, it's like, well, my hormones could have rose or they could have not. Like I could have handled it and you really don't know. So while, birth control is an everyday thing, FEM tracking is an everyday thing, you're doing something every day. It's either remembering to take a pill or remembering to like check your signs, your biomarkers as they call them. And really, one, if you mess up, is easier than the other to kind of bounce back into it.
Well, and just to be more in tuned with your body and understand what's going on, and take that as a priority. Where I really believe that women I think we're a little more complex than men. This is just my personal opinion. So I think just the way that our anatomy is, that everything is internal with us, is a metaphor to how kind of complex we are.
Right.
And so we have to, as women, now that I'm on the other side of that, I'm going to be 51 coming up here. I appreciate and wish that I would have given a little more thought to how my body was working and a little more time into those.
Honoring that.
Honoring it and spending some time to understand it so that I was prepared when I got married of what that looked like.
For sure. And I mean, so we do adult FEM at 3W. We also have a teen FEM program where we can talk with young girls and it's at their level and it's how they can understand it.
It's age appropriate.
It's age appropriate. And if you have children that you want to educate on what's going on so they can go into the world and not be confused on why they're getting a period and when things are happening, we can do group classes, we can do individual classes, Lauren, we offer that.
This is just sparked something in me. I remember as a mom of when you were probably 12, you wanted to start wearing makeup, and I took you to the Clinique counter.
Yes.
I wish that I would have had something like that of the FEM program.
That's not just on the outside.
Yeah, that's just not focusing on the outside. I mean, there's all this, that's such a great knowledge that could empower young girls early on. And I think that was the right thing to do, to go to the Neutrogena, because it was very fresh faced.
Clinique, Mom.
Oh, the Clinique. Yeah. but I wish that's what I would have known about something like this.
For sure. Well, and so tell your friends and tell people who have kids, because we are here and open, and you can get a group of girls together. So it's not just a one-on-one thing. We can do a whole, sports groups or your club and all of that. So, and we can come to you too. So
that's really smart.
Yeah. I want to go back to your career and how much success you've had. I know on our last podcast with Roxanne, we talked about how you guys are the top 1% of your region and all these great things. Do you feel like being a mom allowed you, and you kind of becoming this person, made you a better businesswoman, a better person in general?
I have to tell you, when I was managing at Nordstrom, you've heard the term "suck it up, buttercup." Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the way I managed. I had a very, very low empathy for people.
She was an only child too.
Yeah, I was an only child. But I really was like, we all have issues. I need you to get up and come to work, and I need you to put on a happy face. And I wasn't empathetic.
Yeah.
People were going through struggles and things, and I would kind of say the right things, but I didn't feel the right things.
Right.
So we were obviously in a corporate thing, but I was shaming them, frankly, when they were calling in sick or they were doing. And then I had children, and it just opened me up to empathy and to understanding and putting myself in somebody else's shoes. And I remember specifically, there was a woman who struggled with migraines, very debilitating migraines. And it instead of being like, gosh, I'm thinking of you. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I make you some soup? Yeah. Which I would have done after children. I was like, oh boy, here we go again with this lady, Yeah. So it really did. It's just having children just really made me a better person. It made me a whole person. It made me, I'm a deeper person. Mm-hmm. I have to think outside of myself and not only rely on myself. So pets can do that too, I think, for you if you're not somebody who wants to have kids, but kids certainly.
But I think in our culture, there's a lot about like, you can be a career woman or you can be a mom, and kind of like, you got to choose almost like either stay home or someone has to stay home, or, it's kind of like you can't have it all. And while, Grandma and I talked about like, it takes a village to raise children. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can just, abandon the child, but you can be fulfilled in your career and have success and also have children. It's not like a pick one or the other. And so if you find yourself in pregnancies or, and having these children and you're thinking, well, my dreams are dead. That's not true, because your dreams, you didn't start your career until you had children.
True. And I would say, and I don't know if this sounds, I do think there is something to making sure that you have a nest before you have a children.
Right.
I think I told you once that even birds with a tiny pea brain make a nest for their baby birds coming into the world.
Yes.
And so having a plan, if you can, have a plan before you do something like that. But guess what? If you don't have a plan, Grandma Roxanne didn't have a plan, and she is a fantastic example of
you figure it out.
You figure it out, and she worked hard, and she had family around her that helped, certainly, but she also had neighbors and babysitters and Montessori schools and all of these things that she put into place so that she could provide a roof over her head and all of those things. But she did a stellar example of this was not part of her journey, wasn't part of her plan to get pregnant early, and yet she made a success out of it. Exactly. She's a big success story and an inspiration.
And you guys are kind of both examples of having success while also getting to have children and having that relationship, that beautiful relationship of having children, while also being able to be fulfilled and be the boss lady you always kind of your younger self wanted to be.
I really am. I'm really doing exactly what I wanted to do as far as, it's funny. I look back at when I was little and I was probably like under 10, and I'd have all the neighbor kids come over to Papa's house, and I would take plywood, and then I'd bring out chairs and tables, and all the people would come over, and I wasn't playing teacher like most people do. I was playing, I'm the boss and I'm telling you what to do. I was bossing people around back when I was 9.
That's so funny.
I know, but there are people that like to not boss around. That's a bad word. That's what I used when I was 9.
Yeah.
But now my friend Kristen, she likes when we go on vacation, I'm very decisive. I find that I'm always ahead of everybody walking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm leading the group at all times. But people like that.
I love that Helen's my boss. Like, I'm like, tell me what to do.
Right.
I'm going to do it the best I can.
Exactly.
And so, leaning into your strengths and being able to know that about yourself. And I think we're just reiterating here that while you can have a plan for your life, there is beauty in being able to be fulfilled in a mother and tapping into that like power that we have as women to literally create life.
Oh my gosh. If women really, like across the world globally, understood the power that we have as women, we imagine 9 months later, just a full human comes out. That's why some people across cultures are scared of women.
Because we have power.
Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, 9 months later, I laid down with her, and 9 months later, she created a human. Really, think about like long time ago,
Yeah.
People would be like amazed that this happened.
Exactly.
It's really powerful. Our bodies are incredible things.
Yeah. And so I think, just reiterating here that we are powerful, and to unleash that power is also to just know the power you have. And through FEM or any type of tracking where you know what's happening in your body and just knowing your health and coming in for an exam or a well-woman exam and getting education from our doctors, like that's huge in being able to live your best life and be able to kind of reach your goals while knowing and not being controlled by your body and thinking like, well, my period's going to come. It's more like, I know when things are going to happen and I know why I feel this way right now.
Yeah. And getting in front of those.
Yeah.
The first boss should be the boss of your body.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not like your body's controlling you. It's you are saying, I know why I'm feeling this way at this time of the month, and FEM really empowers you to do that. So if you ever are in need of services, 3W is here in the Seattle area to take care of you and help you educationally as well as with your physical body and your mental health. So we are always here for that. Mom, is there one last thing you want to leave the listeners with before we wrap up?
Well, it has been the honor of my life to be your mom.
Oh gosh.
That's really, and Zach's mom. It's just been over and above anything else, just the absolute honor. And I can't wait for more adventures.
She doesn't cry over real estate. So but really, while we have deep relationships here on this earth, and I think it's beautiful I think a mother-child relationship is so special, more special than probably any, and I'm not a mom yet, but I can imagine that it's such a special relationship. And so I'm so happy that you decided to have me.
Yes.
And also, seeing you and how amazing you are and all you do in your life, both as a mom and a friend and a daughter and a career woman, is so amazing. And I don't think you would be who you are without every aspect of that.
Right.
And I think that's what we like to say at 3W is we take care of the whole person. You're not just a patient in front of us. You have a story. You have a whole world that you have that we want to honor and take care of. So thank you so much for joining us. If you need anything at all, please reach out and call us with an appointment. You can reach me at the phone and we can book a FEM appointment or anything you need. Thank you so much and be well. For more information about 3W, please visit our website at 3wmedical.org. That's the number 3, the letter W, medical.org. From there, you can learn more about the services we provide, book an appointment, or make a donation if you'd like to support our mission. You can also call our office at 206-588-0311. That's 206-588-0311. If you liked this episode, please share it with others and consider subscribing on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, stay healthy and be well.